Welcome back. Now, we're talking about the etiquette of handshake today. Sometimes you shake some people and it's like they've grabbed you with a vice. And sometimes you just get a very limp hand and you wonder, this one, yes, no feeling at all. And some do some funny things to your palms, you know. Well, we're going to know what all that means this morning, and it's my pleasure to welcome, of course, Janet, our day 2 etiquette coach.
Good morning.
Yeah, you say I'm in high spirits today, aren't I?
I can see that. Good for you. Sometimes we need it, you know. Okay. Right. The power of handshake psychology. Really. What does your handshake say about you? And if I were to ask you a simple question, on a normal day, how do you think your handshake is?
Firm.
Great.
Friendly.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that the handshake has a message. And it really does have. And after all, what is a handshake? It's a universal greeting. And it's one of the first acceptable ways of touching somebody when you want to greet them. So there's a touch, all right? That's what happens. But then again, when it comes to handshakes, what's it really all about? It's about the fact that I'm happy to see you. Nice to meet you. You're welcome. Let's do business. Let's seal that contract. Congratulations. It sends a lot of messages, and mostly they should be positive messages. But then again, it depends on how you give the handshake. So you should really ideally be standing when you give the handshake. And then when you stand, then you stretch out your hand, right? You're not going to shake with your elbow. So you stretch out your hand. But what people don't understand is that your handshake must come together with eye contact. So you literally can't be doing that. You should be looking at the person when you're handshaking, right? So you stand, you stretch out your hand. There should be constant eye contact until you finish, all right? And then there should be what I call web to web and palm to palm. So when you're shaking hands, you need to make sure that this is webbing, and then your palms are touching. Okay, and then you shake hands, and then you release. A lot of people,
not hang on to it.
Yeah, so there you go. Right? Great. So we have web to web, with palm to palm, and then we shake. Okay. So we don't want the lingering. Yes.
Some people do this.
Yes. So we're going to talk about what messages those kind of handshakes actually send to someone, and they're really, really wrong messages. But you know, at the end of the day, it's really about your assertiveness. Your handshake tells us how confident you are as a person, you know, how credible you are, and the fact that you're assertive. You know why you're here. Most times when you give a handshake that is contrary to what I've just said now, it really means that you're not a sincere person, you don't really know what you're there for, and you don't know what you're about to talk about, you know, and sometimes a lot of that comes with insecurity and low self-esteem. But science research has actually told us that the person who is extroverted, all right, actually is more inclined towards giving a more expressive, firm, assertive handshake. The person who is shy actually is more inclined to giving a less expressive handshake and almost not touching you. So it depends on the personality of that person. Handshakes have personalities, you know. And then they now say a woman who actually has an open attitude to new experiences will actually give a firm handshake. So when you see a very, you know, like a CEO or someone who's a female, because she's open to new things and and has an open attitude, she will tend to give you a very firm handshake. Right. So let's talk about some handshakes now. I would say the finger tipping handshake, which a number of people do. Until let's see, finger tipping. All right, we're finger tipping.
What's that?
It's a cold fish handshake. So if you look at it there, you're just touching the person's fingers. All right, you're not very assertive. It really shows that you have a weak character. You're probably insecure. You definitely lack confidence at that point in time, and there's a disconnect. Right? I don't really want to shake your hands. I'm just touching you for the sake of it. And that
because I have to.
Yeah, because I have to. And in business, there's really no need for you to do that at all, you know. Then the next one is the bone crusher. Should I try that with you? The bone crusher handshake is one that you squeeze that person's hand.
A vice-like grip.
It's painful. It is actually very painful. Now, that person who shakes their hand like that or shakes someone's hand like that actually lacks some social skills. That's to start with. aggressive, okay, because that means that person is quite insensitive, all right? And then that person is overly aggressive. The attitude of that person is overly aggressive. It means that they always want to be in control. And to a large extent, it shows that that person is equally insecure. If we look at the condolence handshake now, this is three hands involved here. So you do your normal handshake, and then you cover the two hands with the other hand. So yes, exactly. Now that's condolence. It's a sincere handshake, all right? It's generally acceptable, and it shows that you know how to express sympathy. And most times you give that kind of handshake when you're giving condolences to the loss of a loved one or something. So there's an element of sincerity in you when you're giving that handshake, all right? The politician's handshake now. Now, I didn't call it politicians. It's called politician's handshake. Incidentally, it also involves three hands, or three hands. So yes, we do. Yes. So you shake the hands. You there? So this is it. You shake hands normally, and then your left hand will hold onto the forearm of the other person. It's a sign of sincerity. It's a sign of sincerity, and normally the person who does it first has upper hand. Yes, and it shows that you're strong in character, you're honest about being happy to see that person. It's just an affirmation that, good to see you. I'm happy to see you. Then the person who puts the left hand first has actually the upper hand.
What if the two of them bring their left hand at the same time?
No, it's not a politician's handshake anymore. And then we have the one that we call the rollover, which I call the lingering one. Now, this is where some people actually shake hands, and they literally don't want to let go. They're still shaking, their hands are still together, even as, you know, they get into conversation.
And then you have to
the introduction.
May I have my hand back, please?
So generally speaking, that person is overly expressive, all right? It's a bit pretentious as well, and then indecisive. You don't really know when to let go. You're just lingering on. A handshake doesn't need that many seconds. You've introduced yourself, then you let go. If you're now going into conversation, you don't need to still hold on to that person's hand. And to a large extent, it shows that that person lacks assertiveness, all right? So generally speaking, your handshake should show some element of confidence in you. Now, the other one is a hippie handshake. Now, this just tells us that you're social, you're playful. Now, some people don't know when not to give a hippie handshake. This is when you now do knuckle to knuckle, elbow to elbow, you know, it's the extras.
Chop knuckle.
Yes, chop knuckle. Now, it's very okay in a social setting, but in a business setting, you cannot meet a VIP and give him a hippie handshake. All right, that's very social, and it shows you're quite playful.